Hello, my name is Don Cross, and today I will be analyzing a book case study on Isaac Storm, a man, a time, and the deadliest hurricane in history. This book case study highlights a nonfiction novel during the Great Galveston Hurricane of 1900, which by today's modern measurements would have been classified as a Category 4 hurricane. Early in the hours of September 8, 1900, the greatest natural disaster to ever strike the United States came ashore in Galveston, Texas. This hurricane brought with it storm surge and flooding that inundated much of the Galveston Island and the city of Galveston. As a result of this hurricane, almost entire city blocks were destroyed, over 6,000 people were killed, and all of this within just a few hours during the darkness of that morning. This was the deadliest and the costliest storm ever recorded at that time, and the monetary losses by 2009 standards were $516 million. This book highlights the personal account of Isaac M. Klein. He was the Senior Weather Bureau employee who worked and lived in Galveston. He was the expert at the time in meteorology, and throughout this book he highlights his background, his education, the meteorological technology that was available in the 1900s, the events leading up to the storm, his personal experiences during and after the storm. Preparation and response phases of disasters in the 1900s were significantly different than in modern times. The meteorological signs, the anatomy of storms, and the science of weather was not well understood in Klein's time. In early September of 1900, Klein and his brother Joseph, they sensed that something bigger than just the normal storms Galveston was used to was coming. The problem was the brothers bickered and fought, and their opinions as to the size of storms and the actions that the citizens should take were always in contrast with what each other thought. In addition, telegrams from Cuba were sent as the storm steamrolled over Cuba, but the citizens of the United States didn't trust the Cubans or their government. So although they had just suffered the brunt of the storm and tried to warn Galveston, the warnings went unheeded. As the streets began to flood, houses were removed from their foundations. At that time, Klein exited the beach, issued hurricane warnings, but this was a little bit too late, as it also violated the Weather Bureau policy for issuing large-scale evacuation notices. Although Isaac attempted to help others and evacuate the coastal areas, in the end, he wound up saving many thousands of lives, but he also lost his wife, his house, and all of his possessions. Storm mitigation was also unheard of in the 1900s. The port authorities in Galveston were in direct competition with nearby Houston port, and Galveston wanted a seawall built to mitigate storm flooding, which was quite common back in that day. It was eventually not authorized due to the cost of it, and also Klein's opposition to it. And as the noted professional and authority on meteorology, his opinion was regarded quite highly by those citizens in Galveston. There had never been a storm so destructive that warranted construction of the seawall to mitigate flooding, therefore it was never built. There really are no new lessons learned from this storm, especially in light of reviewing the lessons learned and the effects from Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Evacuation orders don't seem to be given early enough to allow effective evacuation, and there's not a good plan to get the citizens out. In the case of Galveston, trains were actually bringing people into the city instead of using trains to take the people out of the city. This contributed to a significant loss of life. Storm damage reports and communications from communities within the past, such as Cuba, are discounted by those areas not yet struck. because they think they understand the significance of the storm. Also, communication systems are rendered useless by the storms. In 1900, the communication system was telegraph, but that's no different than today when cellular towers and our forms of internet communications are knocked out and power supplies rendered useless. The good news is we do learn from each of these storms and alter our plans and policies to help prepare and mitigate for the next destructive event. These are some of the references that I utilized in preparing this report to add more information to the book report, Isaac's Storm. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have. Thank you.